Hey everybody, this is Chris with Overclockersclub. I've got something cool from Reolink. It's the all-new RLC-823A. I reviewed the RLC-423, and you can check out that review. But it is a 5 megapixel camera, and the RLC-823 is an 8 megapixel camera. So other than the obvious pixel differences, what I want to do is sort of compare the two and see what physically is different, if anything, and then from a specification standpoint, what is different. So I'm going into this sort of wondering, is this just sort of a refreshed version of the 423, or is this really something that's all new from the ground up? So let's get this one out of the box here, but first let's look at the box and see if there's anything interesting on it. So really on the side here, the smart alarm with person and vehicle detection, that's becoming more and more standard on cameras. Color night vision, two-way audio, that's a big difference. The RLC-423 does not have two-way audio in the sense of you have to actually add, I guess, an external microphone to that one. But here we have it already as part of the camera, which is nice. Optical zoom, 360 endless pan and tilt. We've already got that on the other one, so that's not really any different. PoE plug and play, that's the same. IP66, that's the same. And the 24/7 recording or motion recording, I think that's really the same on the 423. So on the surface here, it doesn't look like there are too many differences. The big one being obviously the pixel count and then the two-way audio. It looks like the box had a little bit of a rough go in shipping. Some of the corners are smashed in a little bit, but hopefully the camera itself is okay. Looks like it took a hit on that corner too. So there's your little information packet. Usually it has a quick start guide. Some stickers, templates for mounting it. There you go. Little security sticker. Waterproof lid installation guide. Oh, that's where you connect the Ethernet cable. And you lock out any moisture, which is important on the Ethernet connection. And okay, so far so good. The styrofoam looks like it's all intact. It's not good when you open a box and the styrofoam is destroyed. But that is not the case here. There's the Ethernet cable. Here's the waterproof lid. This is what's used to keep your Ethernet connection dry. We've got an adapter, some wall anchors. Let's see, the 12 volt 2 amp on the adapter, and the camera. And I can move this box out of the way. Now I'll bring my RLC-423 up again here in a little bit to show the two cameras side by side, but this looks to be very similar. It's got a black finish here, and we have a little different configuration across the face there, so I'll look at what all these are. And let's see, a micro SD slot. Clearly there's a speaker, microphone, whatever here on the back. Turns very smoothly. As far as connections go, of course there's your Ethernet connection. Got a grounding strap, an optional power, and a little reset button. So you can use the adapter if you want. This is the way these usually work, but this is power over Ethernet, so as long as you have an injector or a PoE switch, you should be able to power everything up through the Ethernet cable. And usually the first thing you do, if you don't already have the Reolink app on your phone, if you're new to Reolink, what you want to do is go to the Reolink website, you get the app on your Android or your Apple phone, and then you scan. There's a QR code somewhere on here, so you scan your QR code in, and it's so nice these days. It used to be a pain to get cameras set up, and it was just not fun. But you scan your QR code in, and it's already set up. You access your Wi-Fi network. You want to make sure your phone that you're using with the app on it is connected to the same Wi-Fi network that you're going to be using. Sometimes you have issues there getting it to connect, so make sure your phone is on the same Wi-Fi network. put in your network name, your password, and within a few seconds, you're usually going live with the camera. And that took maybe 30 seconds for this to connect to the app, so no issues there. And when I was talking earlier about your phone having to be on the Wi-Fi network, that's only if your camera is a Wi-Fi camera, which this one here is not. I've set up so many Reolink cameras, some are Wi-Fi and some aren't, that that always stuck in my mind that your phone really needs to be on the network. But that applies only to your Wi-Fi cameras. And again, this is a PoE or an Ethernet camera. No Wi-Fi capabilities on this particular camera. So I've got my Ethernet cable. This goes back to a power over Ethernet switch, one of my ingenious switches. So when I plug this in, usually within a moment or two, this will start to go through like a little startup test. So I'll plug that in, and then I'll hold this for a moment, and I feel it. Yeah, there it goes. So it'll do a complete check as it goes all the way around, and then we should see the tilt. There it goes. So now the camera is powered up, and the next thing I'll do here is scan in the QR code. So next, what I'll do is bring in my 423 and sort of set them side by side, and we'll look and see what the differences are, if any. I mean, obviously the turret here is a little different. And then we'll look at the specs between the two in more details, and then I'll get this hooked up outside and we can start playing around with some of the video and image capture. Here I have the RLC-423 on the left and the new RLC-823A on the right. So the main housings here, the castings, they appear to be pretty much the same. No changes there. The general functionality here, the pan and the tilt, they seem to be, the same, feels the same. It looks like they're probably using the same motors to control those axes of motion. The big difference here is right here is the, you take that cover off, and this is where the little SD card goes. And on this one, it is actually on the main part here. So you take that cover off. There's no speaker on the back. Here we have the speaker, and somewhere on here there's probably a little microphone port. They're usually pretty small. I don't see it offhand, but could be right here maybe. There's a little tiny, that could be the microphone port. The next thing here, if you look at the face, of course, if I can get it to focus. There we go. You've got your IR LED arrays here for your infrared. Here we have spotlight LEDs along the bottom, and then your infrared sensors are over here, and you've got a daylight sensor, whereas over here is your daylight sensor. So they're the same but different, if that makes sense. Now there is a version, a Wi-Fi version, the RLC-523. Of course, it has the antennas that stick out, and it is a 5 megapixel and not an 8 megapixel, and I'm not sure of the rest of the specs if they're the same or not, but there are some differences between these two in the specs, and what I'll do is bring the two spec sheets up and compare those, and I'll do that here in just a moment. Now the next thing to really look at is to compare the cables, if I can get them both up here. So the white cables here are from the new RLC-823. You can see there's the Ethernet, an optional power reset button, and a little grounding strap. And the RLC-423, it has also the Ethernet, the optional power, the reset button right there. There is a grounding strap right there. It's a little shorter on this one. And the other difference really, or the only difference I should say, is this here is for an external microphone, since this one does not have the two-way communication really built in, and the RLC-823 does. And I'll transfer the SD card from this one over to this one. I got the little cover off Be careful with little screws because they're easy to drop. So I'll get this card out. This one is a 32 gigabyte. And let's see, there's a certain way they go in. It looks like there's a little kind of a graphic on there. I think that shows, and you'll know, I mean, if it doesn't go in smoothly, then don't force it. But it looks like the little gold contact points there go towards the front. So we'll just try here. Kind of takes two hands because this wants to rotate. And that was the right way, the right orientation. And then the little cover here, there's actually a little gasket already in there that keeps the water out. And there's a little raised area that mates up to that gasket, and it compresses against the gasket to seal out moisture because you don't want any water getting into the internal components. And again, take these screws out and put them in somewhere on a work table so you don't lose them. It's easy for them to get away from you. And snug the screws up. Make sure I don't over tighten them. Alright, so I'm ready to power this one back up. Okay, so this is my super high-tech mounting system for outdoor testing. It's just a piece of galvanized angle iron, literally stuck into the ground, but it will give me a view of the street and whatever animals are running around at night. And I will move it to one or two other locations to get some different images and movie captures, video captures, depending upon what's going on, whether it's people traffic or car traffic. Okay, so I mounted it outside and I have the human tracking on so it follows me around. And you can adjust the sensitivity, so I'm not sure where the settings are at the moment. So I had the camera mounted up by the garden at first, but there really wasn't anything exciting. So here is where I mounted the camera next. You can sort of see a truck pulling out of a driveway. The tracking is on, so it followed the truck there. And next you can see when the infrared lights are on, and then when the spotlight comes on, you can see the difference in what you can see. The spotlight really lights things up. And now I decided to move the camera to a light post so I can get a better view. You can see the Reolink Duo is up above since I was reviewing it, and you can check it out also. I also noticed the 823, I can't quite get it to angle high enough into the sky, at least for my tastes. So I made a couple of aluminum wedges, and each wedge is 3 degrees for a total of 6. So that gives me enough vertical tilt so I can see the sky a little better. And there is the Duo mounted on top or right above the 823A. But I've got them mounted on the pole there so we can get a good view of the roundabout. Usually there's quite a bit of action here at the roundabout, so we'll follow up a little later. You may want to adjust your volume down a little bit because there are a few police chases and some drunks blowing through the roundabout. And the next couple of clips here just show how the time-lapse function works. There is no sound with time-lapse. And the first clip here, the camera is moving all over the place because I have tracking turned on. So anytime there is motion, the camera will follow it. It tends to make you a little seasick. And the next clip here is where I moved the camera to the roundabout, and it just, again, is another example of the time-lapse. With the camera fixed, there's no moving around. The tracking is turned off. And this is a screenshot from my phone showing the pet detection function. It sort of singles out when there's an animal and you get an alert. This is not my personal cat, but it's just a random cat coming into the neighborhood. Okay, so hopefully all those little video clips sort of give you a really good idea of the image and video quality that the 823A is capable of. And I tell you that that roundabout, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on there, and I'm going to capture it all with this camera. So what do I like about it? Really pretty much everything. Power over Ethernet, I really like that. You only have to run one cable. The 5-time optical zoom, the auto tracking, the spotlights down there, the ability to turn those on and off. Your night vision, your color night vision is good up to about 190 feet. You can listen through it, you can talk through it, and you can put a little SD card in there to store the recorded video. You have to supply your own SD card. Or you can just dump all the video directly to one of the Reolink NVRs. Now, over the years, I've looked at a lot of Reolink cameras, and they just keep getting better. The software on the PC app and the phone app, they just keep getting better. They keep tweaking them and making improvements. You can look forward to regular firmware updates on these cameras to sort of add new features and functionality and fix little bugs. Reolink's really good about that. Pricing right now on the Reolink website, it's $249. Now, this camera just came out. And it's also $249 over here on Amazon. So Reolink also runs a lot of sales from time to time, so just keep your eye open for a good deal on this camera. So yeah, $249, that's a lot of money for a camera, but you're getting a lot of camera for your money. The 823 really covers a lot of usage scenarios, but Reolink also has a lot of other cameras that sort of fit different needs. The smaller cameras, you may need cameras that don't have near the functionality. Regardless, a couple of nice cameras here from Reolink that I really like here, for example, are the Reolink Lumis and the Argus 3 Pro. Check out the reviews on these two if you want to see what they're like. But again, you know, fit very different usage scenarios. You need to check that out. So I would give the 823A, the Overclockersclub Editor's Choice Award. So that wraps up this review. This is Chris with Overclockersclub. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.